Welcome, everyone, to the ProVideo Pages podcast and webinar series. With me today for this podcast, I've got my friend Nermine Zahkary, who is the founder and chief empowerment officer at StrengthsEdge. With certifications in CliftonStrengths, Nermine coaches one-to-one, small groups, and facilitates workshops to help people strategically apply their strengths to accelerate their performance, improve their relationships, and take action with their strengths at the forefront. Nermine comes to strengths coaching with more than 15 years of experience in the training industry at Highland Hospital and Xerox Corporation. She holds a master's degree in education, specializing in instructional design for online learning from Capella University. Well, welcome, Nermine. We just finished the webinar and now we get to talk.
I love it. Thank you so much, Anne.
Yeah. So our goal here today is to get to know you a little better, get to know what you do, and get people excited about listening to the webinar. So does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Great. So I like to start off with learning a bit about you and how you got started.
It was about 10 years ago. I was attending a workshop at Xerox. It's called Discover Your Strengths. And the process was we bought at the time it was called Strengths Finder, bought the book, did the assessment, and I didn't like my strengths result. I had these fluffy relationship words. I should air quote them, fluffy relationship words that I thought had nothing to do with anything that I had achieved in my life. And actually, I saw them as my weaknesses. So, one day I'm going to write an article or a blog, or maybe this will be my tagline. The girl who didn't like her strengths, now strengths coach. What happened for me during that workshop was I experienced a complete paradigm shift. I walked in thinking this is probably just a silly personality test. And I walked out saying, everybody needs to know their strengths. Everybody needs to know their strengths. So during the workshop, the questions I ask inside the webinar that we just recorded are the questions that we were asked in that workshop. And as I was sharing the activities that brought me joy, the gentleman sitting next to me, I had to share them with. He had my top 5 strengths in front of him. As I would share one, he would say, Nermine, you were using that one. And I'd share another one. Nermine, you were using that one. He's like, what are you talking about? These aren't my strengths. And then the more I thought about them and realized, yes, I am experiencing some happiness. I am doing something useful. It dawned on me that I had spent the bulk of my adult life trying to live up to other people's expectations, feeling like I never met them, or always comparing myself to someone else and never feeling good enough. For the first time, it was okay to just be me. It was a really big deal.
So you didn't like what you found out, but then you realized that it was who you are. Is that right?
Indeed.
Okay. And then there was that chance for acceptance. And
There was a chance.
Was that it? I'm putting words in your mouth, but
no, it was like I was on this discovery because, for example, my top strengths were empathy and adaptability.
Mm-hmm.
So empathy, a beautiful gift. But all I could see was when I ruminate for days about a conversation I've had with someone because I said too much or too little, or I offended them. Or my adaptability, another beautiful gift that affords me opportunity to provide options and be flexible with folks and enjoy variety and bring variety. All I could see was I can't make a decision for my life. How is this a gift? So I was truly on this journey of discovery and exploration. How are these a gift in my life? It was a really profound moment for me.
I can
time of my life.
Imagine. You've got me thinking. So in this case, one of your strengths, that empathy, because of the way you ruminated on it, it became a weakness. The strength didn't become a weakness, but it actually was hindering you.
It was hindering me, and it expressed itself as a weakness instead of as a strength.
And what would you say to yourself then about that?
See, the thing is with our strengths, when we use them in the proper amounts, That's where we can contribute and make a difference. Sometimes, though, I show up, I'll overuse my strength. And that's was the overuse of empathy, where I wasn't reeling it in enough to, yes, I can put myself in someone else's shoes and I can feel for someone and have some trust in that conversation and that relationship. And there are times when I might not use it,
Mhm.
right? Times when I choose to ignore or put aside. So we have a choice. We can use them in proper amount so they can serve us and others, or sometimes we choose to do the other, either overuse or underuse.
Do you think there's ever a case, though, that you have a strength and you choose not to use it and that's the right choice?
There might be, probably in proper amounts, when we're using our strength together. When they work together, you show up as your best self. It might be that one or the other is needed a little bit more prominently in a given moment. Honestly, though, in the feedback that I've gotten and the conversations I've had with clients, it's when all of me shows up, you get the best of me.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was, I'm sorry, I apologize. That was a little bit of a trick question there. So if I'm hearing you right, when you when you're alone, when you're not in a team situation or collaborative situation, and you choose not to use the strength that you've got, that's probably not a good decision. Um,
Probably. It,
okay.
they serve us. They serve us.
Like,
This is a part of
fine.
our makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So tell me about the services that you provide.
So I have some one-on-one coaching options. So I love working with people who are ready to level up. They're thinking about the next big thing and they have some questions and they're feeling a little unsure. So looking at strengths is a really great place to start. So we will do some work together there to get clear on how we contribute and what you need. Another way that I love to start, I have some small group programs as well. I love bringing folks together. I would say my signature program is a 3 to 4 month group program where we're learning about the positive intelligence aspect too of my offerings, learning the tools to increase our mental fitness. And then we spend the balance of our time looking at our strength. What does bring me fulfillment? How am I using them? Learning about other people's strengths. And then we close with this writing a purpose statement. And we also do some practice, problem solving, troubleshooting. And then another way that I serve is I love working with business owners or managers of team who have a team that they adore. And yeah, there might be the occasional friction that they worry about, but the thing that really troubles them the most is, am I doing enough to bring out their full potential? And what they really want is to create an environment where their people are at peak happiness and peak productivity and never want to leave. So what I'll do there is we'll spend a half day in a workshop setting talking about what happens when we show up with our strength and exploring, are they accelerating where I want to go or are they getting in my way? And then we talk about how it is impacting my relationships. And then from there, because now that everyone's on the same page, we move into partner coaching sessions where we have more intimate conversation around contributions and needs of strengths. And it's so powerful to have someone validate your contribution and the impacts that you make. And also to hear you talk about what it is that you need, what frustrates you, and be able to be there to support you. So, really powerful conversation.
That sounds actually very exciting work to do, which I'm going to jump ahead. This is one of the questions that I typically do at the end. What is the coolest part of what you do when working with a client or clients?
Seeing the transformation, seeing them sit up a little taller in their seat, seeing the aha moment of, wow, when I use this, it does make an impact. And for me, that's the most fulfilling,
Mhm.
exciting moment And then when we're checking in over the course of our work together, seeing and hearing the application of the tools and the ideas that we've been discussing at play, and to see the change. That's what excites me.
And I've got to think that excites people too, when they can actually see it and go, it's from working with Nermine that that I can now identify and see and do something about playing to my strengths, or helping to not frustrate a team member because I understand them better and that they can play to their strengths. They can act
Absolutely.
fully in their strengths. So back up to a question for you. How would I spot your ideal client?
For an individual who, this might be someone who is starting to feel unsure. You see the potential in them, and they're not seeing the potential in
Mhm.
themselves. They're coming down hard on themselves. They want something better and don't know where to start. Looking at strengths is it's the thing that elevates the individual and helps them see themselves in a completely different light, and gives them the energy and the boost and a different view to tackle the next thing.
Which then brings me to a follow up question that is not on my list, right? But I think that this will be easy for you. Describe what somebody looks like after they've worked with you.
They love talking about their strength. I can say we get to geek out together about strength. Like we get giddy when they're telling me about how they use this one in particular, or how all of their strengths showed up, or when they're telling me about how they addressed a situation through the lens of their strength, as opposed to ways they might have in the past.
That's powerful. That is. What do you think sets you apart from other people who also do similar work that you do?
First, it's bringing strengths and positive intelligence together. So we get really clear about what our strengths are, and also how to create that long lasting effect, and maintaining that positive mindset to use them effectively. That's one. And it's the combination of my strengths. They afford flexibility and create space, uh, help us connect in a pretty deep way. And it's really important to me that we see progress, that we see the transformation. I love hanging out with my clients, and it's all about them.
You got me thinking then. Prior to recording, we talked about some meetings that we're going to have coming up. And you mentioned to just get online here on a Zoom with our beverage of choice and
Yes.
talk about my strengths. I took the test, I think it was 2010, and I need to go back through what they are. But I've realized as I've aged and matured and just grown in what I do and made some switches to the business that I do, these ProVideo pages are relatively new for me. And I think that I will get some validation that I'm doing what I should be doing, and that it's not a surprise that I've chosen to do what I'm doing. But I look forward to geeking out with
Oh,
you.
I'm excited.
So, as we move into the webinar, I would love for you to share with everyone here about the topic of playing to your strengths and what you cover in the webinar.
Yeah. It's how do we maximize our potential? So we take it in steps. We talk about why look at strengths in the first place. Let's get down to the nitty gritty of it. Then we go into a little bit of the history. Where did the concept come from, anyways? Feels like in our society, like we're very much many times a deficit thinking society. We're quick to look at what we've done wrong, and quick to what do we need to do to fix it, instead of really celebrating what is coming naturally and what is going well for us. So where did all of this come from? And then the best part of our time together is talking about how to get started with focusing on strength. So
Great.
that's why come hang out with us.
Yeah. And question, when I took my test, I bought a book and there was a link in the back with a code. Is it much the same way? How would someone go about finding that test and taking it?
You can pick up the Clifton Strengths or Strengths Finder 2.0 book with an unopened flap in the back. And that means it's an access code that hasn't been used. And you just follow the instruction in the back of the book or in the flap to log in and set up your account and get started. Or you can simply go to www.gallupstrengthcenter.com and purchase an assessment. You can either purchase your top 5 or your full 34. And then you'll receive instructions for setting up an account and getting started with your assessment. And then you'll receive all the results.
Great. Thank you. And do you recommend, if someone is just watching the podcast right now and haven't watched the webinar yet, then would you recommend that they take the test prior to watching the webinar or watch the webinar first?
I don't think it matters. I think the webinar will provide some good context for what to expect when you see your result. But if you already have your results and you're coming in and you're listening, that's fine as well. You're going to get some ideas about how to look at your strength and really give some thought to how am I using them?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So basically, to summarize, you could go either way. You could do the test before or after. You're still going to get the same value. So that's good to know. But I strongly encourage people to please take the test, because really to play to your strengths and do it well and get those wonderful ahas and those, what did you call them, operating at peak performance and
Yep.
all of that, not just once a week, but at least 3 times a week, then you should really know what your strengths are and then spend some time with them. Beyond this webinar and podcast, are there other resources that somebody can go dig a little bit deeper on their own about this?
Oh, there are a ton of resources on the Gallup website. And first and foremost, when you get your report, really take some time to read through. You'll get the textbook definition for each of your top 5, at least. You'll get another report with customized description, because I have adaptability and you might have adaptability, but adaptability is going to show up differently for both of us because of the combination of our strengths, right? It actually customizes it for you and describes how adaptability probably shows up for you because of the combination of strengths. So that's a powerful report as well to read. And then if you purchase the full 34, really it's powerful to see the full range and the rankings of your strengths. And also it's a wonderful detailed report. First and foremost, before all of the other resources out on the web, you have everything that you need right in front of you inside that report. Study that first.
Okay, so as we wrap up, Nermine, there are a couple of questions that I like to ask everybody. I already asked you about the coolest part of what you do when working with clients, and I think that's fabulous. And you got so animated. I love that. Yes. And that's that, you know what? And that's exactly what you were talking about, right? About being in that zone of operating to your strengths. And I love that. But a technology must have. Is there a specific piece of technology or an app that you could not imagine living your life without on a daily basis?
Well, it is my laptop and all of the apps that come with it, because I live on Zoom or on Teams. My Google Drive, my OneNote. I love my apps. That's what helps me stay organized and, most importantly, connect. Zoom has opened up the door for efficient conversation and open the door for you and I to have this conversation from
Exactly.
across the country.
Exactly. And you know what? I think that's one change that we've got. There are a couple, now that we're in a post-COVID world, these relationships that we've developed, even after COVID, we've only known each other probably
Beginning of the year. Yeah.
months. And I feel like we're friends, and we've never met in person, and we may never, but at the same time, these are real relationships. Is there anything recent that you've gotten that's piqued your curiosity or that you're testing out?
I'm exploring with some new app. I'm so excited. I love networking and meeting amazing people. And I'm trying to get to a place where I can keep track so that I don't lose touch or miss a beat because there's just a lot going on. So I'm exploring some new apps. There's a new one called Dex. And I'm really excited just to sit and play with a little bit and see if this will really help me make a difference.
How do you spell that, by the way?
EX.
Great. Well, I look forward to checking that out myself and hearing from you. A lot of what you talked about has to do about processes and about being efficient. And so when I poked a little bit of fun about that's if you're given three wishes, your third wish should be for three more wishes. No, but it's the whole package of being able to have everything working together so that you can engage with people and that there are fewer hiccups and technological issues. So thank you for that. I love hearing what people have to say on these. So we've talked about lots here, but in one or two sentences, what would you hope that our listeners take away from our conversation today?
Just to start noticing where they're experiencing those glimpses of excellence, where they're noticing timelessness and they're feeling that contentment. Start noticing and catch yourself when you're thinking about the negative, an area of weakness. So the invitation is to start strength building instead of weakness fixing.
Yeah. And it is a glass half full thing, but it's so well beyond that. I am more optimistic than pessimistic. But at the same time, that's totally separate though from focusing on my strengths instead of my weaknesses. And it's a learned behavior, perhaps. So thank you. You've given me a lot to think about. I really thank you for your time today, for sharing your knowledge, both here and in the webinar. And I encourage everybody to watch the webinar if you haven't already. And again, Nermine, thank you so much for joining me.
And thank you so much for having me.